You know, sometimes like I wish we could do literal live reactions, but because we have jobs, we're not able to when chapters drop at I think this one came out at like 10:30, 11 o'clock this morning. Shout out to TCB, by the way, for being kind of I'm using late very relative here because I'm not going to shit on the people that actually do the job. But like they had
Yeah,
about a
what?
week or two when everything was popping off where they're like, I think they were coming out like Friday, late Friday, and even think maybe one chapter Saturday. And ever since those 2 weeks, they've been nailing it back to like they did a little regrouping and they're back to dropping pretty much early Thursday morning. Maybe not like the 5, 6 a.m. drops that we got from time to time, but they're nailing like Thursday before noon. Like shout out to them.
Yeah, it's because they got the anti-bot thing you have to click to get into the site now.
That's hey man, however you got to do it. Cause like that's just nice. It's I literally because the only reason I looked for the chapter this morning because I kind of wired myself over those 2 weeks. You're like, okay, cool, just expect it Friday. Don't even trip about Thursday. And someone texted me. I have a friend that I have been shit talking the very little knowledge I have about Bleach and somewhat discussing JJK with. And he told me after this chapter, and this is a very late response, but he texted me this morning is like, see, Justin, you have to let Gay Gay cook. And I'm like, are we reading the same story at the moment? So I went, but I was like, you know what? I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because I know he goes on TCB too. Like maybe they
Yeah.
dropped a new chapter. Maybe it's a new JJK chapter this morning. Looked and I was like, and I literally looked, and I was so locked into JJK, I literally scrolled past One Piece to start. Like One Piece was the first thing up there, and I just scrolled past the thing and like looking for the JJK, and I'm like, no, JJK still 7 days ago. It's like, and then I scrolled back up and I was like, oh shit, One Piece is out.
Nah, it's so funny. I really hope it didn't get a spoiler, but like I have a friend that like is really into JJK and the whole
Mm-hmm.
whole Gojo stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like Gojo's her favorite character, and she like made a post about like my reaction after reading 261 leaks. And I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, leaks suck.
Why
Don't
would you do? She didn't like post the leak, but she posted just the reaction. And I'm like, I can read a
leak
lot from a fucking reaction, dude. Like it
leak culture
don't
and
don't give
spoiler
me
culture are just awful. Like I said, I'm extremely glad not only do I have like this as an entertainment source, I'm also extremely glad like you and Jake being the ones I talk to the most that it's not even there's not even like somebody in our group that's like, well, maybe it's like, no, we're just all extremely anti-spoiler, anti-leak. And even if somebody
yeah.
gets caught, we literally text the group and be like, yo, be on the lookout. Shit's out there. And so like I greatly appreciate that in our circle, especially like there is no leak or spoiler culture. Like let people read and enjoy this shit in real time the same way you got to. When you take that away from them, it's
Yeah.
like I think the closest I get to is like sometimes I'm really excited about a chapter, like I'll write confirmed in all caps and shit because I'm just like, holy fuck, like I
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
but I it's like but even that to me is like, all right, fuck, was that doing I'll even sit there and be like, damn, was that too much? Like I capitalized confirmed and like all the fucking letters. But you
Nah,
know,
I don't think so. I don't look at it that way because I'm like One Piece has been hyped for quite a while. So I'm
oh
like,
yeah, it's like and
for 20
Jacob's gonna be
years.
like, yo, read this chapter as soon as possible. And it like kind of lets you know, like, all right, cool, some shit's popping off. Which all of Egghead, pretty much since our fifth or sixth chapter of Egghead, has all been shit popping off. And
Since the introduction of Vegapunk, I was like, okay,
we're here.
like
Yeah, like
this is a big fucking deal.
we are here. We are man, we weren't even we just didn't even have plans for today, but I was like, yo, it's this is one of those chapters that it's like you just want to get I had to click this button like pretty much as soon as possible because man, we got some shit to talk about.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Let's
curious about like before we jump into it, like I
go
am,
for it.
what are you on? Oh, I was like, I don't recognize that version of TCB. But yeah, yeah, man, it's just been really good for shonen stuff
Absolutely.
this week. But even Boruto wasn't bad.
We will get your board to review, and I
I'll give a Boruto take later, but like Boruto, I mean, it wasn't good, but it wasn't like last chapter where it was like 37 people couldn't understand why the Nine Tails was around.
I saw
and
some
every
memes about
single,
that.
oh, hey, did you know? I didn't know, and she didn't know, and he definitely didn't know, and we're all kind of confused. It was all a bunch of like the Spider-Man memes of like, you're confused, I'm confused. Like,
The
but this chapter was like better.
Amen. The
And then the
uh
My Hero stuff's been like, I'm curious if My Hero is almost done just based off of this last chapter. I'm like, I feel like My Hero might be done.
like by end of year done, or like wrapping up like next couple chapters done.
uh, like if it goes, like I don't know if it makes it out of the summer done.
Damn.
Like that's where I'm at after this last chapter. I was like, uh,
I
I don't like no spoiler, but like
mhm.
I don't think I'm spoiling anything. I'm just saying like I think My Hero is almost done.
No, it's valid. The I learned this
Unless
week.
something fucking crazy happens.
I learned this week that people don't know actually how to read. Um,
Yeah.
and most and I play Yu-Gi-Oh, and most Yu-Gi-Oh players can't read, and that joke's been established. But I learned a lot of people that enjoy manga can't read, and that people have never, just don't understand the concept of dramatic irony, or at least don't know that that concept exists. Don't ask me why it started trending, but there was somebody who was kind of he started some shit picking apart early Naruto, right? And he was like, these are all the things wrong with early Naruto.
Mm.
And one of the ones they got stuck on was Itachi's introduction as far as the first time we see him in person, right? And he's like,
Yeah.
and he breaks it down. He's like, the only people that should really know about him are Jonin and above, right? Because he's an S-class criminal, and so there's no reason to even like the Genin obviously don't know anything about him. There's no real reason for Chunin to know anything about him outside of uh the Bingo book, which is he didn't say this, but in my opinion, the Bingo book's kind of this vague thing in the beginning of Naruto. They're like, yeah, this book exists of really bad criminals, and it's like, and that's about it. And they're like, oh, when Naruto opens the door and you see Itachi, he's like, there's no reason he should be so scared. He's like, your boy just opens the door and starts losing his shit, and he's like, he don't know who either of these people are. And I'm like, that's the dramatic irony of it. The character, all he knows is that homie's got the same eyes as Sasuke and he doesn't quite
Yeah.
get it. The other guy literally has a large fucking sword, and it's you as the audience, you know something that he doesn't. You know who these two characters are because we just got the little mini fight with them in Guy,
Yeah.
and then it's like, oh, now they're moving over to Naruto. And I'm just like, is and I've been reading some stuff on reading comprehension in America, and it's at all-time lows, or at least that's what they report. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Even on the ones with pictures.
yeah, and I'm like, are we down that bad? Like, that's just a generic writing technique of like you, the reader, know something that the characters inside the story don't know. Like,
I
that's a
have
very commonly used thing. And to shit on, and there's a lot you can shit on Naruto. Like, let me be very clear. There is things you can pick apart and be like, this ain't that great, that blah blah blah. But it was like he had a whole thread based on like he took out several moments, but that was one of the big ones, and people started hopping on, and they were just like, "Nah, Itachi's had that aura." It's like, no,
oh what?
it's like, a Kisame's fucking terrifying. If just Kisame opened the door, you have a right to shit your pants. Giant shark man with 7 foot sword is valid reason to go. Oh, I feel like I'm in some shit. Hold up.
Yeah, but also like yeah, he's got the same eyes as Sasuke, but also like Naruto's more like who the fuck is this guy knocking on the door? He was
Mm-hmm.
expecting Jiraiya,
Yeah.
and
And
he's got someone with literally a crossed out leaf headband. Like
I just
that looks like Sasuke, and he was like more confused than anything. And then Kasame shows up, and Kasame is just horrifying.
that's
But I
like
guess but also like it's not the first time Naruto's seen a giant sword. So it's like it's
Oh
more
yeah.
it's just more confusion of or than anything. Like, who are you?
And it's like, but no, I was
I don't know. I'm curious to see, and this isn't really the week to be talking about this kind of thing, but like I'm curious to see. I think Naruto ended a long time ago,
that's
right?
valid. Yeah. Almost 10 years now.
Naruto, yeah, Naruto ended a long time ago. The Boruto anime is stalled. I
Yeah.
think there are a lot of people online that, and I think Dragon Ball follows this same thing. I think a lot of people online made got a lot of clout from and made like careers off of
Those series.
Naruto
Absolutely.
predictions.
Hmm.
And I'm really intrigued to see what happens when
They
people
have
that
to
have been doing this
transition.
with that have been doing this with One Piece for a long ass time, like Grand Line review.
Hmm.
What else are you going to review? The
Oh, don't
Grand
worry. He
Line?
does Hunter x Hunter. That can never fail
Yeah, I mean he'll get a chapter every year then, huh?
him.
So he's guaranteed one video a year.
Yeah.
But
No, that's a good talking
no,
point, though.
no,
I know we don't
I
have the time for it today, but that is legitimately because it's in sports too, where there's a
yeah,
lot of people who have gotten a lot of fame off being either a super LeBron fanboy or a super LeBron hater. And because LeBron's
yeah,
played in the NBA since 2003, some of these guys, since they were 22, 23 breaking into the scene, they're in their 40s and that's their shtick. Like Skip Bayless, that's been his shtick for 20 plus years.
yeah.
And it's like, now he's closer to retirement. He's made enough money. It's not going to affect him a lot. But some of these guys are in their 30s, 40s, and it's like, bro, you still got to talk about shit for another 20, 30 years potentially. And LeBron ain't here for maybe but another year. So
I
it's
think
like,
it's like it's that double-edged sword, right? Where it's like you go, hey, I know that hating on someone gets me views.
mhm,
It's super easy. And like, what if there's nothing to hate on? Like, at the end of the day, what are we hating on LeBron for?
dumb shit.
Like, oh, he shot 20 instead of 30 in a game.
Hmm.
I don't even know if that's a lot, but like, you know what I mean? Like, are we really gonna,
Now
like, really? Like,
LeBron's talking
really?
points are all it's just him and Michael Jordan. It's like, well, who's the best? And it's like, well, Michael stopped playing 20 years ago, so he can't change his resume. LeBron can change his resume, and depending on how you feel about him, you could say, oh, well, he lost this game, so that makes him worse. It's like, okay, but what if he wins the next game? Or like, like Jordan's legacy is just done. Like your boy's retired, hasn't played in 20 years. It's like, we know who
Yeah.
he is. And LeBron will get some of that love post retiring, but he's almost like punished for at least critics and super haters. He's almost punished for continuing to play, even though no one's ever been this good at basketball at this stage of their career as LeBron has been.
But like
Like
that's the
it's
thing
insane.
too, right? Like so even if you're a LeBron lover, which is just you being like a realist, right? Like
Hmm.
he's an amazing player.
Hmm.
Like no one's gonna deny that. And the
Thousand
people that
percent.
do are looking for this clout. I don't know. Like it's this whole thing of like I used to watch like a bunch of movie reviews stuff and
Hmm.
anime reviews and TV show stuff and all that. And it's just like it just turned into people just like shitting on it.
Hmm.
I don't like this because it's just boring. It's just dumb. It's just this. And I'm like, how fucking dull. Like, and then you foster an audience that just kind of like
Likes to shit
is
post and hate with you.
just shit posts and then they have zero reading comprehension and then they go like, this chapter of One Piece, chapter 1 11 15 is so boring. And you're like, what are you talking about, dude?
Yeah. It's
Like we're
it's
talking, this is like some of the most interesting things in one. Oh, not enough fights. Couldn't really understand it. And then you go to a JJK chapter and those same guys are like, oh, I just don't understand what's going on. It's all fighting.
hmm.
And you're like, I don't like what
There's
is
no
wrong?
winning.
Yeah, like you're just kind of boring, I think.
No, that's why it's genuinely a thing of like, yes, we obviously talk more One Piece than anything on this show, but it's also why I've been trying to do it more. You do it a little bit more naturally. Jake's probably the most diverse in terms of reading so many different things that come out of Shonen. Is once One Piece is over, not saying it won't get brought back into conversation because we've had it for over 20 plus years, so it's like it's kind of hard to totally kick it out of our discussion. But it's very easy to move on from. Like, I'm a diehard Dragon Ball fanboy. And it's like Dragon Ball gets some talks in generic meanings, but like we don't sit there and have full segments dedicated to Dragon Ball because it is not a providing new content. It's like I'm not gonna sit there and be like, well, what if we just talked, like you can only have so many conversations about like going Super Saiyan. It's like, bro, it's been over for Super's
Yeah.
now been over for 7+ years. There's been some new manga content, but not stuff I'm supremely interested in, nor really feel like having discussion on. So it's like, yo, Dragon Ball the topic today. And One Piece will
Yeah.
eventually get there. Um, and having other stories and stuff to talk about, it's huge because yeah, if you're a one trick pony, cool, it works for the duration of all that one trick is popular and it creates its media, its own clicks. But at some point, even something as big as One Piece will eventually, we will be here at a time where it's like in a time in our lives where it's like, yo, One Piece has been over for 10 years. One Piece has been over for 20 years. One Piece has been over for 30 years. And it'll always be there. But that's what it is. It's like, I use Harry Potter a lot. But it's like Harry Potter, you can't take away its place in history, but it's like this series has been done for what, 15 years now?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you want to reference it as a literally just a reference point, fine. But like that series had its time. It's now time for new stuff. And if you're still
Yeah.
recycling it, like on your own time, do whatever the fuck you want. Like I still watch a bunch of shit from the 90s and earlier, and it's like, but I do that on my own time, and I kind of do that as a just for me thing. I try not to. I bet I used to reverse at it, but I try not to bring that here because it's like just because just because I'm willing to or you're willing to watch that one us particular video 1,000 times, don't mean it's for everybody. And so some of
Yeah.
that shit you just keep to yourself, and it's like by yourself in your own living room, doc, do whatever the fuck you want. You can watch the same video, the same
Yeah.
fight a million fucking times. I don't give a fuck. But when it comes to just discussing some of this stuff and moving along like the actual timeline of reality, which is like you don't talk about stuff that's 30 years old. You don't talk about stuff that's 40 years old. Like it's had
Yeah.
its time
I
and place.
think
Bring on the new stuff.
well, yeah, and I think One Piece, especially, and I think this is a really nice intro into like what this chapter I think is, because there's a lot to I think there's a lot of like this is an oh wow chapter to me,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot that would be fun to recap.
Mm-hmm.
And but I think the most important part about like I think it was 115 or sorry, 1115 and 1114 what they did really well. They've been bouncing around
Mm-hmm.
the story while Vegapunk's telling this, and you get to see the actual scope. And I think that's what makes One Piece so good.
A
It's
thousand
not
percent.
like I think we've talked about where no story should have this many chapters. No
Agreed.
manga should have to be 30 years old to be good.
A
In
thousand
fact,
percent.
like um but when you get to a point in this story and you can see 30 years just in like individualized panels and the range of like what Vegapunk's speech is, and you go, okay, we could jump to Wano. Oh, we're jumping to fake Luffy in jail. Oh, we're jumping back to East Blue. Oh, we're gonna jump to
I don't know.
Foxy. We're gonna do X, Y, and Z. Oh, this guy get blurred.
Where's it
Oh
going here? Hold up. Let me stop sharing for a second. Keep going.
no. But you see what I'm saying though, right? Where it's just like I think One Piece should always stay in the topic of conversation because of how it world builds
Mm-hmm.
and how interesting that is. I think if you're talking about like if we look at Naruto for creating a sandbox that is like crazy popular, like that took the DBZ sandbox and like amplified that, in my opinion, I think.
Yeah, that's valid.
Um, and then you take Kubo's art style, and
Mhm.
he took the generic um manga look and he like amplified it. And you take Oda's world building, which took it from generic to like absurd.
Mhm.
You do get like really interesting bench points and things to compare it to and things to talk about. I don't think, what is it, 15 years? How long has Naruto been done? 10 years at this point? I don't
The
think bringing up,
manga ended senior year of high school.
was it 2013, 2014? I guess the manga ended
No,
in like,
13.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
we were a
like,
year out.
I don't think it's
No one's still my credit
I
card
don't
number.
think it's
Please and thank you.
interesting to go Naruto can sense Itachi's power in that first moment. I
Mhm.
don't think that's an interesting point of conversation.
It's
And maybe
not.
I'm just old. Like in the equivalent for One Piece would be like, well, at the in Punk Hazard, Kinemon could have beaten Zoro, and you're like, who gives a shit?
No,
That's not what the
it's
story is about. Like, oh well, at the beginning of Punk Hazard, Luffy Luffy wouldn't have been able to handle Kaido, and I'm like, yeah, I
the
know.
point.
What's your point? Like,
It's
oh, Garp can't handle Luffy at the end of Wano, and you're like, what are we talking? Who gives a shit?
no,
That's not the interesting part of One Piece. That's why there's so many fights that are off screened. You know what I mean? It's like that's not the point.
it's also Oda does a really good job of, even when we get flashbacks, like take even like the fighting out of it, which I know, like, yes, I like watching dudes fight too. I like watching Garp explode islands. It was really cool. Like that was a hype
It's so
chapter.
sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, and even Oda for the legacy characters, even he's pretty quick about their flashbacks. It's like, this is who they are. This is what they did. I'm going to show you why they're super important. And then he normally gives them all like one shining moment of old age, right?
Mhm.
Whitebeard's probably the biggest outlier because he has an arc around him, but that's a changing of the world arc, and he just happened to be the thing that needed to go for the world to finally turn over. Like
Yeah.
Roger's out of here, Chiki's MIA, um, Garp and Sengoku are damn near retired, so it's like we have one last monster. Let's get him out of here, and then we will reset the world with the new young guns coming in. And so, but it's otherwise
Yeah.
Oda just goes, yo, this is what, like Garp specifically, right? We have 3 to 4 pages of God Valley, and we know that's Garp's huge claim to fame. And we have 3 to 4 pages of him fighting on, we have a chapter 2 of him fighting on Pirate Island. And it's like, that's all you really need. Not saying we won't ever get another page with Garp in it, but I personally don't feel like I need it. Now, I know who he is. I know why he
Hmm.
was crazy. And I even got to see kind of his last hurrah, which is like, as a 7-year-old man, still don't fuck with them.
Yeah.
And it's like,
You know what I'm
perfect.
kind of down to see though. I am down to see, and this is something that we will see. Because I will say Oda is really good at giving us, he's really good at the fan service. And he knows how to mitigate the fan service. It's like, oh, I want to see this whole fight. And you're like, I don't think he goes, no, I don't think you do. Because it's just a fight. What's more important is that the Straw Hats are on Egghead and things are happening on Egghead.
Mm-hmm.
And you go, but I really want to see like the full Garp versus Aokiji and like what happened afterwards and this, and no, you really don't. Trust me,
Yeah.
this is where you want to be, and here we are.
No, 1,000%.
Reverie Part 1 and Part 2. Reverie getting split into 2 parts, I think, is such a brilliant
Mm-hmm.
like way to do that. Of all right, Reverie Part 1, it's like I really want to stay here, and he goes, no, we're going back to Wano because Luffy's about to fight Kaido, and you're like, okay.
No,
Everyone gets their moments. You know what I mean?
his pacing, it's why the world feels alive. It's like his pacing, what you're doing, it's to we'll get in the chapter in a second, but it's like,
We're kind of talking about the chapter. I wouldn't say.
yeah, when you're living your, and I think this is something that like a lot of people, it's like a meme, but I don't think a lot of people really get it. And this is something that Oda's pacing does really well, is like when you drive down the freeway, there's a bunch of cars. each of those cars literally represent someone else's main story. Like they're
Yeah.
living their own life, have their own family, their own friends, etc. It's like that's a whole other human being operating amongst Earth with you. But most people, and I get it, you get job, your responsibilities, you get kids, et cetera, et cetera. It's like you get very tunnel vision. It's like, okay, well, this is my life. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm focused on. That's it. It's like, and Oda does a great job. And a lot of manga authors struggle with this. We get a cast of characters, and then they kind of get tunnel visioned on like two or three of them. You know, Naruto's famous for that. We had no one ever really like we had four legitimate teams on four squads that all became Genin, and it's like, oh, they could all have their own interesting storylines. And it's like, yeah, but we're gonna cram about four of them into literally one Sasuke rescue arc. Fire, super cool. And then we're not gonna really expand on it until Choji becomes a butterfly, because that makes sense. Trust me, it
Yeah.
does. Which is about 400 chapters later. Um, it's like there's a lot of lost in the shuffle, and it's like, damn, like it would have been cool to see a Shino story. It would have been cool to see like these other characters, like Ino, who it's like, oh, her and Sakura have this. I'm not just a little schoolgirl moment. Except it doesn't really matter because I'm still just a little schoolgirl until, maybe the whole story, Sakura for about 20 chapters. So it's like when you can sit there, Oda not giving up on giving all the characters something and continuing to see them. Like, I never remember her name, but the girl at Usopp's village. Her just even getting
Oh
the
yeah.
worldly check-ins and seeing like, okay, she's getting healthier, she's learning more, she wants to be a doctor. It's like all that
She's
shit.
actually becoming a doctor,
Yeah.
right? Like,
And it's like it doesn't take long. Like we have it's maybe in the whole story post Orange or Syrup Village, there's maybe 10 panels with her, 12 panels. Like it doesn't take a lot, but it's this subtle, like she is still living a life. She is still doing something. And that makes
mhm.
that character better, even if she is a side character.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah,
It
I
makes
agree with you.
me
The of going around all these has been he's always good at it, but this has been like he has damn near perfected his technique as far as going
I'm
around the world.
I'm really excited for so it's these batch of chapters especially make me really excited for what Wit is gonna do with the anime because one I tell you right now 114 and 115 are one episode.
I have no
And
idea
that
how
and
Wit
you know what
ended
I
up on
mean?
the Toonami thing.
Like so I wanted to I don't know if we have time to talk about it, but I will say like the Toonami thing's cool. I will say the Toonami thing is cool. I I can't get excited for old.
It's tough.
I like maybe I am so used to um like newer anime
Mm-hmm.
pacing, right? Things that weren't being pumped out every week. Like I can't do One Piece at the anime right now. I'm just like it kills me.
No, it's valid.
You
It's
know what I mean? Like I literally I'm like, "Oh Jesus." Um like and I think like I look at a chapter like this and I go, would we take the time to give everybody this little line? Like, what do you trim, right? Because I see these little lines and I'm like, every panel in here, I'm like, that's a minute, that's a minute, that's a minute, that's a minute.
oh yeah.
And I'm like, oh, but like in reality, like this whole chapter is probably like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like tops.
No, it can't be 10 minutes because you got to think Vegapunk is talking in real time. The island's exploding, and the Gorosei are pissed. Like this chapter, high
Dude,
key is only
dude,
like 2 to 3 minutes.
yeah, right? Like, and I'm like, I love that. I love the idea that like we're gonna live in a world where four One Piece chapters are getting put into an episode.
Yeah.
Like that sounds so dope to me.
No, it'd be so that's I'm curious if they're gonna do it. I think Dragon Ball, so for the Toonami thing, I'll be quick here. So I think it's cool because it is introducing it to younger kids. Maybe don't have the it's really hard for Toonami to succeed, in my opinion. I understand Dragon Ball and Naruto are huge, and Sailor Moon, I don't want to discredit. They're these huge media brands that will, it's almost impossible to fail But in the world of streaming, where I can go on Crunchyroll and I can see all of Naruto at whatever speed I want, like, why am I waiting for Toonami to put out
I don't have to.
episodes? It's like it's for younger
I just
kids. I
saw it
get
more as
that,
like
but
I saw it more as like Toonami was putting out like certain episodes,
they
like
could. I
because I'm like, why in 2024? I mean,
You don't need it.
at 5 o'clock, I'm like, do I really need to watch the second episode of Naruto?
Oh gosh, if they go from the beginning, that is bad. That's
You
just
know what I mean? Like, am I really gonna wait a week to watch a 20-year-old anime?
yeah,
And
and
I'm like,
that's like I said,
when
those.
it's readily available on like every fucking streaming service, by the way,
Oh
like
yeah,
Netflix, Crunchyroll, like Hulu, it's on everything. Like
no, it's gonna be tough. Like it's gonna be tough as fuck. And if
fucking
really, you
Disney
could
in some countries.
like it's on YouTube and some shit.
Yeah,
Like
right. Like,
there's full
that's how
episodes
I
on
watched it the
YouTube.
first. Yeah, it's. I'm like, if it's hard for me to get excited.
No,
Like
it's
Toonami is always gonna hold a special place in my heart, but I,
you're not eight
I
anymore.
have, yeah, I'm not a kid anymore.
And they're streaming. It's just that's the base. Like it was different when Toonami was the only place to get this shit. And that's it. That is its claim to fame. And I won't ever take its place out of the history books. For Americans, that was the only place we had it. I know in Japan it's on regular TV. We didn't have that on regular TV. So it's like you had to specifically go look for if you wanted this kind of show, you had to go to Toonami. Um, that's just not the way the world works anymore. Like I said, it'll probably do like I don't know if it's gonna be daily or not. I didn't see that, but if it's daily, it'll probably put up decent numbers for about a week and then it peters out. You'll have like one,
Yeah,
you'll
it's
have a
just
handful of people go, "Oh, that's really cool. Toonami's back." And then they'll realize about 20 minutes into it, it's like, I'm now watching this episode with commercials. It's 20
yeah.
years old. Why am I waiting? Like there's just a lot of things working against it. So,
To quote Alex, why does he sound like that? Was a really funny. I was watching the Naruto, like the first Naruto movie,
mm-mm.
and Alex came home and she was like, "Jesus Christ, why does he sound like that?" And I was like, I guess, yeah. Like if you didn't grow up with it, this is kind of fucking annoying.
Yeah,
Uh, and I told her, I was like, well, he mellows out. He's 12. He mellows out.
very mature 16-year-old, promise.
17-year-old. He had to lose an
Well,
arm.
we only get him a 17 for like a fucking day.
I get a well
Your boy turned
in
17, fights for another
Boruto he's an
day.
adult, so
All right, so Flower Capital Wano. This
yeah.
tripped me out when I first read this because I definitely thought this was like the cover page because I was like, oh, so
Uh-huh.
we're going back to Wano. I understand
Yeah,
like this is the actual cover page, and I'm like, oh, okay. So
this is a fun kind of tie-in. I'm like, we talked about this what like a couple months ago, where it was like the cover page leading into the actual story.
mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, this is cool.
Oh yeah, so now Vegapunk's talking, which I do love. Oh, yeah, so Vegapunk's talking. Now you may be wondering how he became known as a pirate. Momonosuke has been like, oh, so you were a pirate, Joy Boy. I didn't remember this, and I just don't. I was gonna look it up before we got on here. How much should Momonosuke actually know?
He knows that Zunisha was calling for Joy Boy, and he heard that.
Okay, so I remember that. That's his connection. I just don't remember how much he's supposed to know off Odin's book. And so,
Oh, I forgot about Odin's book. I don't know if it's in there. It might actually be in there significantly now that I think about it.
that's what I was
But
curious. I was like,
I was thinking more in the line of like he can hear
Zunisha calling out.
Zunisha. I can hear you, Joy Boy. I can hear you. And he's like, who the fuck is Joy Boy?
Mm,
And so this is kind of like the response to, oh, Joy Boy was a pirate, just like
okay.
Luffy. Interesting.
No, that's valid. Like I said, I don't know. I never know with Momonosuke. Odin's book really fucks up a lot of things for me because there's theoretically
Oh, he put
like
the end of One Piece in there. Momonosuke
no, a
knows the
thousand
end of One
percent,
Piece. Yeah,
1,000%. It's like
kind of. kind of shitty that I hate that an 8-year-old boy knows the ending of.
That's I mean, it's literally him.
Like
So it's the
this
leader
isn't
of a
a Make-A-Wish kid, you know what I mean? Like, why does he get to know the end?
we have the leader of a country that no one can get access to, a man hiding inside a whale, and a drunk who may or may not be have sold himself back into slavery to give gambling debts. Those are the three most knowledgeable people on the planet.
So you're telling me that the whole world should know this by that logic. Thanks, Justin, for
You're right.
ruining. I the reality is everyone's just stupid because these three people know it.
Yeah, no, dude, homie
Scott
lives in a whale and he knows it. Like,
Scopper's playing with goats. All the
yeah.
goat
Oh,
everyone
I
knows
forgot
they.
Scopper. I forgot the goat. I forgot the literal
That's
goat. There's
why
four.
he's literally hanging out with them. So I bet
This
I bet Demolo Black.
who do you think pitched this, by the way? Who do you think looked at Oda and said, "Hey, look, man, we have a
Tomorrow Black,
we
excuse me.
we have a great, you know, when they say like you have the opportunity, you've seen like thing, it's like a other jokes like you have the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever. Someone looked at Oda and said, "Hey, look, man, you have the opportunity to do some of the funniest shit possible. What if we brought back fake Luffy, but we made him fake Kid?" I laughed like like audibly, like
I
out
also
loud, fucking cracked up at this. I was like, this is
I
fucking
also
hilarious. This is
I saw this and I was like, oh man, I'm so glad he's not dead. Every I saw this and I went, I can't wait for Jake to get Tomorrow Black's backstory before he gets kids.
dog. Look at Killer. Look at fake
Dude,
Killer.
Killer looks badass. Shut the fuck up. He has that soccer paint on his face.
I don't
Like
even remember
he's
this guy's name. I just know he breathes fire.
who gives a shit? That guy can't breathe fire.
The zombie on Kids Crew.
He's on the bottom of the ocean. Who gives a
Oh
he's
well, you're
dead.
right.
He's fucking
Oh,
dead. All of
uh,
Kid's crew is dead. So this guy is worth 3 billion. Tomorrow Black.
shit is.
Whether he's Luffy or Kid, he's 3 bill. Who do you think he's gonna impersonate next?
Oh, he's
Because
gonna go all the way around. He'll be Law in about 300
you
chapters.
think Law? I thought he was gonna be Buggy next. Can you imagine like his crew being fake Mihawk and fake Crocodile? I just love this as a bit.
Oh, this was
Like
hilarious.
especially when Buggy jumps onto the scene and like becomes like if the meme is a thing and the world goes Buggy the Clown is the king of the pirates, but all the pirates know that Luffy's the king,
Hmm.
and everyone's like Buggy the Clown, king of the pirates. This guy impersonating Buggy at the end of the show
Oh my
would be
god.
amazing.
This yeah, no, this is a fantastic reaction. This is like a legitimate laugh. Like this was one good job. Oda, Aura, whichever editor looked at you and pitched this, congrats. This is 10 out of 10. This is the
Yeah.
best panel in the whole chapter.
Do you think an editor pitched this?
I absolutely do.
Okay.
I think
I love
someone thought like literally like, look, we've had a real stressful couple of weeks. Just let me have one panel. I'll make it work. And he's like, well, are you gonna compromise the story? He's like, absolutely not. Everyone's gonna love it. And he came back with this, and Oda said, yeah, absolutely. Put it
Yeah, I
in.
like an overworked editor was like, "Hey, senpai, I drew this in while I was taking a shit. I was bored. I just kind of doodled it, but it made me laugh. Here's Tomorrow Black looking like Kid."
It's like there's no
And Oda and
explanation.
Oda Oda laughed so hard he went, "I have to go on break next week." Like I,
like
I get my lungs looked at.
it makes no sense, and it's perfect. It's fucking perfect, man.
He
Um,
definitely there is a distinct artist that is working with Oda because there are like this doesn't feel like the guy impersonating Kid does not feel like it's not really an angle I would see, but also like oh it's so funny. Anyway, sorry, I don't want to
no,
derail
it's
it.
this. No, this is best. I'm standing on this. This is the best panel in the chapter. Um, bear in mind, I only have access to a handful of poneglyphs. Just to make sure we're on the same page, he wouldn't know the one Big Mom's had or the one Kaido's had. So he would theoretically have the other two
But
knowledge
those
at
are
some
also
point.
but those are road poneglyphs we're talking about.
Oh, okay. So he's referencing all. Okay, 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 okay.
Yeah.
That's valid. Okay. Never mind then.
He's also only referencing because I don't think he's only gonna be referencing what the Oharans got because I don't think he has a way to read poneglyphs.
True. You don't think he's got a translator? Like some kind of science? Because that would be our
I
third
I was
one.
thinking I was thinking more along the lines that he learned the language,
Oh,
but and if that's the case, that's just an unknown. I don't know.
yeah.
Um, but I thought in the last chapter he referenced that the Oharans, this is what the Oharans found. But I could be wrong, so I'm like, it is
It's
what it is.
I assumed that he probably made something because that would give us we've only got what Pudding and Robin right now is our confirmed like
They're
readers
the
of the
only
poneglyph.
they're the only two that can read it.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna get one or two more before the story is all said and done. So Vegapunk creating something to read it to me just made sense in my head.
Hmm.
Um, chronicles something about a great war in the distant past. Now I texted this. I read this whole chapter almost as if like expecting it to end the next page or next panel.
I
Sorry.
also was kind of like, Jesus Christ, we're really
Yeah, he
every
just
every page is the last page.
yeah, it's like he just kept going. I was like, holy shit. I was like, ah, like I know you just took a break, and he's like, man, this was him saying sorry for having to take a break and then have to go into Golden Week. Um,
Yeah,
during that
I don't
period,
think Oda's ever apologized. He's like, well, okay, I got
that's
another week of a job.
there you go. During that period, Joy Boy faced an enemy now known as the world government. This I think is technically new info, but I think this is probably the most assumed thing possible. Is that
This is the most assumed thing. Also,
yeah,
like the Great War in the distant past.
yeah, this makes
Like
the most sense. It's technically new info, but it's like, okay, look, like we all know that this was going to have happened at some point.
I
Um,
thought the it's semi new information, but the back then they were merely the Allied powers, a temporary coalition consisting of 20 separate kingdoms. Things that we kind of knew, but it's the new perspective on it.
mhm,
Um, the idea that like, oh, the government didn't exist. There was a bunch of separate kingdoms
yeah,
that banded together.
correct. Well, that's the other half of the because that we got during like the throne room breakdown, which is like, oh yeah, these 20 kingdoms came together and said, all right, we'll all work together as long as there's no one above the 20 of us.
Yeah, you're right.
Um, I love this Marine though. He's like, wait, isn't that us? Like they're all literally like hearing this shit in real time and trying to figure out. I'm like, wait, is he talking
He's
about us?
like
Talking about them? Like,
he's like,
uh,
wait.
and then this
And
guy's
then
like,
the other one's straight up like, well, I mean, they're pirates. And
yeah,
he's
he's
like, yeah,
like,
okay, yeah,
he's
okay.
just he's
Hey, there's that.
justifying it in real
Honestly,
time.
that's reading comprehension if I've ever heard it.
Absolutely.
Better
He was
than
like,
most of Twitter.
um, shout out. I love this, by the way. This is
Dude,
a
the Gorosei are pissed, man.
oh, they're livid.
Like, dude, the guy that he's killing all of these fucking. Oh, we're in the panel above. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I'll
No,
jump
this
to
is
it.
too and I want to keep giving credit to this because I don't want it to ever be like taken for granted, is that all the little details that are in panels, right? Like this panel's like terrifying, right? It's like, okay, worker is chasing him, he's going super crazy. You have to assume not only the fire, but there's also a lot of literal pressure because we assume he's got the strongest hockey out of all of them. Like
Yeah.
even the Giants are kind of freaking out, and Luffy is just smiling.
Yeah, Luffy's running away, but he's having a good time running away.
like your boy will like, and that's Nika. That's literally that's his essentially superpower. It's like your boy will smile through everything, and he's seen slavery, he's seen horrible shit, and it's like, nah, we still lit out here. Like this is cool.
We still lit.
Yeah,
No,
like
I jumped to the panel below because I was like, we get to see
oh, your boy's pissed.
who is it? This isn't Jupiter. This is Venus.
No, this is Jupiter. He's the
This is
sandworm. No, no,
This
no,
is
no, no,
this is not the
no.
sandworm. This is the
The
dragon.
bird.
Yeah,
Is it
but
Venus or
he's using his conqueror's hockey and he's knocking out all these fucking snails.
that's interesting.
He
Is
is pissed.
can they use Conqueror's hockey while they're transformed? Because I
Oh,
questioned last week why Saturn would turn back into his human form. It didn't make sense to me. And I'm curious now when I said this, I'm
oh,
like, can they not Conqueror's hockey while they're transformed? I wonder.
oh! I figured he transformed back so he didn't accidentally, you know, hit the nose of the nuclear bomb.
Possibly, yeah.
Like he's a bit big, right? So it's like, well, I don't want to activate the mother flame and kill myself
That's valid.
and everybody on this island.
Valid.
As much as I want to kill everyone on this island, I'm on this island.
Yeah.
And there's no guarantee that would stop the transmission. So
True.
it'd be like real bad. Also, he needs it.
Yeah.
They want to walk off with the mother flame. So
This bubble. So we talked about this last week too, where like, um, Joy Boy and Nika being different people, but we assumed Joy Boy to be or was Nika is the Elbaf legend,
yeah,
and so this kind of goes with it, which like it can be assumed the alliance was the only feasible way to oppose the formidable faction to which Joy Boy belonged. So this kind of is tying in with that of like ancient giant pirates were just it's impossible. Like giants are incredibly strong at any point in time, and the more powers they accumulate, which if they had devil fruits or if they had hockey, if they had conqueror's hockey, like conqueror's hockey from a giant is fucking terrifying. If you know, if they had devil fruits, it's like, do we get what Hajrudin was supposed to be, and do we have a flame giant back 800 years ago? Like
yeah,
those are incredibly strong things, and that justifies um most people. I understand it's fiction, but like most times throughout history, your allies come from I can't beat my enemy. And this is a perfect example of like the giant pirates, or I'm using pirates relative here. They were probably going to have a different term when we actually get to the Void Century. Um, were too strong. And so these 20 kingdoms were like, look, this is a problem. We need to get rid of them. Otherwise, they're going to get rid of us. Um, Okay, then he says, afraid of the cause of conflict still eludes me, so I'm not presuming to judge the morality of the combatants. Nice way of saying these 20 guys who turned into slave owners and racist, I'm not going to call them bad people, but I'm not going to call them good people either.
yeah. It makes me think that he went to war. Joy Boy was probably freeing slaves.
Yeah.
Like that's going off of who's who in Wano and what he used to say or what he was saying of like, oh, he would like bring joy to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, he was probably freeing slaves and the kingdoms didn't like that.
Did not like it at all. Um, it's, I'm not going to really try to guess these figures, but,
No,
um,
we don't know.
yeah. Um, Oh yeah, but then he talks about again so advanced that it had to exist. And it's crazy to think they were so advanced, but 900 years ago. Um, Semi repeating info, but just getting the clarification. Vegapunk this whole chapter, and I know we texted this too, where he might not know every detail, but he knows a lot about the Void
He's
Century.
Yeah, he's laying it out. Like again, I think it's a lot of like semi-known
Mm-hmm.
info, but this is all getting laid out like, hey, we've sprinkled it throughout 1100 chapters
Mm-hmm.
and this is it in order. Here we go.
Yeah, this is the guy who knows the most and can explain it the best. It's like
Yeah.
in my mind, for like a comparison, it almost feels like if you were to like talk about a world war, you might not know every detail of World War II, but you could be like, okay, these were the Allied forces. This is what Germany was doing. This is when America got involved. You know these big enough points that you could be like, oh yeah, this is what World War II was. Versus someone who really knows it in depth could tell you like, oh well, this happened, which led to this, which led to this, which then this was the reaction of that. Like you could lay it out in a far more detailed way. But Vegapunk knows all these big ideas and what was obviously the aftermath of what was going on. He just might not know, like he said, he's like, look, I'm not going to try to claim who was right and who was wrong here. This is just what was going on. I love Foxy. That, and I don't say that very often. This might actually be the first time I've ever said that, but once again, going around the world, seeing Foxy, who has now grown I don't know if this is a second mustache or like if he has a mustache on top of a mustache. I don't remember Foxy's face
Oh,
that well.
Foxy did not have a mustache. He has grown a mustache.
And a little beard pattern. Um, such technology is baffling to a genius like myself. And therein lies the problem. So this, I'm not gonna lie, this is kind of important, but at the same time, to me, this is almost for the readers more so than it's for the story, which I liked the acknowledgement of it. But I'm gonna kind of go through this quickly. Edison basically telling Stussy, like, look, homegirl, you might as well try to get out of here because that bear ain't gonna do shit. And she's like, why? He's like, do you see who the fuck's ransacking this island right now? Like, the barrier ain't it, man. Like, look, the barrier would have worked 400 chapters ago. These motherfuckers are coming through. And I love the paneling even of like Saturn walking around, conquers hockey, knocking out snails, and it's just like, not when there's monsters on the island who can ignore it. And it's like, you might as well try to save yourself. Like, get the fuck out of here. It ain't worth it. And poor Kaku, I have loved this little dilemma of, will Stussy save Kaku? Who knows? Find out next chapter. Kaku's just gonna blow up with the fucking island if Stussy don't get his ass out of there. But like, so yeah, so even Edison going like, yeah, this is out of our hands. Bear ain't gonna do shit. These guys are also monsters. They'll have to take care of themselves. Jinbei is plot devising to make sure Zoro is actually where he needs to be at the start of this, because otherwise Zoro is going to go left when he should have gone right, and we're going to have a chapter of where Zoro. So
You say
Jinbei is
plot
just plot
device?
devising.
You
He's
said
plot
plot
devising
device?
to make sure Zoro is like, yo, Doc, you need to be here at this time. So please get here, and we'll deal with the other shit later.
Are we referring to plot device meaning he's just carrying Zoro?
1,000%.
We could have just said he's just carrying Zoro.
No,
Anytime
because
someone's getting carried, I'm going to be like, they're getting plot devised somewhere.
absolutely.
I'm plot.
Jinbei is Oda, and he is saying, I need Zoro here. And he knows Zoro can't naturally get there.
I went to the grocery store, and now I've plot devised the groceries into my house.
Absolutely.
And it's okay. Okay,
Absolutely.
cool. We're just gonna
That's your story.
We're gonna run it.
Yeah.
It's plot devised.
Plot device. Your other plot is you starve to death. So you write your own story.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not in love with this, but okay.
Oh shit. Oh yeah, so then telling them to move up. Never forgive you get blasted out after this. More shit.
I thought
here.
this was interesting. Oh, the Stussy stuff. Because we jump back to Stussy, and I liked this because I'm curious about Kaku's face, and it makes me wonder what CP0 is going to do at the end of this, because I think there is some bittersweetness happening where it's like, hey, what's the point? Like, this broadcast is kind of giving what's the point idea. And I don't know, her line of like, now that Stella's gone, who am I meant to live for? I have no purpose. And then just the cut to Kaku. I don't know, his face is really interesting.
No, this is gonna be
so I wonder if CP0 becomes its own. I think back to when they were like running rampant on that island. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if CP0 like will use this opportunity to escape and then take Stussy with them.
Potentially.
Edison's fucked.
Oh yeah, Edison's gonna blow up. Your boy is gone. He's got nothing. Your boy is.
Edison's a bit fucked.
It's like, I don't know what to do with myself. I'm gonna just sit here and die. Like, no,
knowing Oda, the dragon's gonna find him, and then he's just gonna put him in his pocket or something and then torture this little robot.
Got to keep some form of Vegapunk with you. Um, it's it's interesting because, like I said, this is gonna be the first time everybody's gonna know this much, right? Like it's always been established that the low level Navy grunts just kind of fall in line because Colby's a really good example of like he joined just blindly thinking, okay, the Navy's good, pirates are bad, I want to fight the bad guys.
Yeah.
Colby's actually literally the perfect example for this. He's literally the writing tool for it. Then he learns a little more and he's like, okay, yeah, it's kind of weird, but like I'm still following Garp and Garp's doing the right thing. Cool. Then he gets the war, which is extremely traumatizing. And he's like, I don't know what the fuck's good anymore. Like that's his first real example of, well, I think we're on the right side, but I just saw Kainu melt two dudes. People are dying left and right, and the war's over, and we're still just trying to kill people because he has this whole crisis meltdown, etc. And
Yeah,
then,
and that's when he joins Sword, I think,
yeah,
in that 2-year skip.
yeah. And so it's like this morality is now we're getting Colby, but multiply it by everybody. Like everyone's going to start going, are we doing the right thing? Oh, they're pirates. And it's great, especially considering like a Kainu sitting at the head and he's the most absolute justice person we have. It's like, this is still like, this is in his world or his view. It's like, it's still absolute justice. If it's us against pirates, we're right no matter what the fuck happens. Like, we're just justified because we're the Navy. And so with all the cipher polls, realistically, we're gonna start seeing more and more of this shit happening. Then oh, that happened first. Reason I thought that I got maybe I read these panels. That's interesting. Then we cut over here, and I loved this. I love that. So One Piece does have, if there's any trope Oda probably uses maybe too much, is like we get the damsel in distress or the princess who needs to be rescued kind of thing. We get that a lot. Um, Bonnie theoretically is that, but she's by no means a damsel in distress. Like she is extremely capable, especially for short burst with her power. Like distorted future is crazy for about 30 seconds. It
Yeah.
doesn't seem like it lasts much longer than that, but still crazy for like an individual attack. So she
Yeah.
attacks.
We're also going up against probably one of the strongest people in the world.
Oh yeah,
I'm convinced that the Gorosei, especially I was reading this and I was like, I wonder if this guy is on like I if he's on Mihawk level
it's
of
probably
just
up there.
pure. I'm like, we're talking about. I mean, he's doing some things that like Zoro can kind of do.
No, yeah, it's he just. I think when we first got um more stuff about the age, the theory started to become that he's not in the greatest swordsman conversation because he's theoretically lost to time. Like the
Yeah.
most of the world doesn't know the Gorosei exists. So if he was Mihawk level and or better, it doesn't destroy Mihawk's title because this is a guy who's just not alive to the majority of the world.
Nobody knows that he exists. Yeah.
Yeah. Um. uh, then he
Yeah.
starts.
But I think it's interesting just the whole like sense the living voices and then aim for it. Like he's
Mhm.
using observation hockey. Like he's there. Yeah, the Gorosei are insane.
No,
His observation hockey is insane.
these kind of panels like these are just obviously not a lot of words, but this is just he's by far the coolest. Like just in terms of cool
I
factor,
I'm
he
so
is.
glad. I'm so glad they made him the coolest because I was for years I was like, oh yeah, the samurai. He's the cool one of the Gorosei, and then he didn't disappoint. He's
No,
so
he's
sick in this chapter.
like these are all sick fucking panels. Your boy cuts off a giant ship fucking flag or a mast. I'm sorry.
Masthead, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, and he's not close. Like this is a extremely long projectile sword attack. Like
Oh yeah, like Frankie saves Bonnie. Bonnie was
Gonna
not
die.
gonna. Bonnie would have died.
Yeah. It's like, this is arguably, to bring Mihawk into it, this is probably the equivalent of like Mihawk when he threw his sword, when he threw the sword attack to Whitebeard. So like that distance of going from where he was standing to Whitebeard, this is comparable. Because I got fucked up. I
Oh,
saw this.
I think the next panel is comparable, in my opinion.
That's valid. I got fucked up because I was like, wait, because this made me feel, when I first saw this, I thought, oh shit, like how close are they? And then I thought to myself, like, no, they're not actually like that close. Like your boy threw out, like, this is an attack. This is a
Well,
very long
he
range.
doesn't just cut off he cuts like the entire top half of this ship off. Like you can see like the direct, like he starts at the masthead, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
it cuts off the sticking out of the crow's nest.
Yep.
And this is a giant ship too, right? So it's
Yeah.
like
Oh, this is huge.
this is a big cut.
Yeah. Like that's what I'm saying. Like this is a super fucking long range, throw my sword. Um, Bonnie, I can't do it for very long. Cool. We already know that. Uh, the Void Sentry ended with Joy Boy's defeat.
You're welcome, everybody. I said that last week.
Correct.
I've been saying that.
Yeah. Which it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Again, this is new info, but like this, the some of the stuff where it's like, okay, well, if the government, we knew the Void Sentry existed, we knew Joy Boy existed during there, and coming out of the Void Sentry, we got, I don't know if you remember if it was 2 chapters ago or 3 chapters ago, we got the confirmation of like the kingdoms established themselves as the world government post the Void Sentry. I also like the close up. By the way, if there's one thing, I don't remember if I've said this already, I need Oda to stop blue balling with the fucking Iron Giant, because your boy shows up and then does nothing and then goes away for several like he's, I get it. I'm not asking him to be like super involved, but like he's done literally nothing. And in this panel, I don't even know. It looks like his ass fell back down again. I'm not gonna assume, but like
No.
it's like
No,
Zunisha. I
he's
get.
just walking.
It's like, dog, do something. Like anyway.
I'm sorry, homie. Let him cook. Let
I
Oda.
know, but I'm just like, man, I'm just getting blue ball with a fucking giant. How much you intend to say? Now, this is also interesting. I don't even think the girls say know how much Vegapunk knows. And some of that obviously is inferred because he was doing research behind their back. But I want to throw out this is I'm gonna throw this all the way into left field. Do you think there is a chance Vegapunk knows even more than the Gorosei? Not more than Emu, but even potentially knows something the Gorosei don't know about the beginning of the world or the Void Century.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. That's, I'm not gonna go far with that. I thought it was interesting of like, what if he knew something that even they weren't privy of? This is insane. This
Yeah.
is a really cool fucking
This is like when Law like opened up Punk Hazard, but like amplified even more.
your boy, I
Like
love.
I don't think, like I feel like this is all hockey with this guy. This isn't like opening up a room.
Oh no, this is just
This
he's
is
just a
just,
monster.
yeah, he's a monster.
I love also the way they talk with people. This is one of like the coldest lines ever. It's like there's just too many life forms up here, and he made the decision. I'm gonna cut that number down real quick. It's like there's just literally too many things that are alive, and I don't like that. Excuse me. The wake of the ancient conflict that scarred the world, and those scars never healed. Everybody reacting. Uh, I do love, by the way, and this is kind of a fan service thing. I don't think it matters that much, but I do love that the Seraphim do hold on to the personalities of like the warlords that they took. Like Mihawk is kind of serious and almost like, ooh, he swings a sword. Kuma doesn't give a fuck because up until the flashback, we never saw emotion out of Kuma. Like this feels like these 4 characters, it feels like their actual reactions. So that's my side note. I like that the Seraphim feel like themselves and not just the goofy things. Like we got the Hancock has still like a crush on Luffy thing, but like I don't really care so much about that. But I like that their actions feel genuine.
Are all the seraphim in those bubbles? I don't remember.
I I want to say yes.
We're
Yeah.
talking like I thought they were all kind of captured. I don't
Yeah,
know how
because
I don't know how far back I'd have to go to look that up, Justin.
it'd be the chapter Saturn pulled up because Saturn was the one that made them. Because that was our Saturn's original introduction was, oh, his scary thing is he controls the seraphim, and then Otis said, no, you wish all he did was control the seraphim.
Yeah, it's pretty far back.
Yeah, and I'm not. I'm gonna just assume yes. If we're wrong, we'll figure it out later. It doesn't matter so much for
Yeah.
this chapter. Um, we all know travel between islands can be excruciatingly difficult. The seas, because travel. So we're getting more into like, yo, this is almost very just like author narrating, like, yeah, this world's been weird since inception. And we've all just like, we're so far removed from history that we just accept it as normal, right? Like the realism of, and we're gonna get to it, it's like Pangea, it like happened, and then now we're all separated, and we're just like, yeah, this is just the world. And we're so far removed from it that it's like, this is just our normal, and we accept it is what it is. Where there's tree, or there's forest, there's forest, or there's deserts, there's deserts. Like, we don't really, as human beings, think about that shit too often. It's just we all accept it, like, yeah. And in this world, it's like, yeah, the Grand Line's fucked up. It's fucking weird. Rain's upside down, islands will fall out of the sky. Shit's weird, man. What do we do
Mhm.
about it? Nothing. It just is what it is. And when you're 900 years removed from something, it's like, yeah, ancient world was swallowed by the ocean. We are now living atop its remnants, continental fragments of land masses that once were. What was your reaction when reading?
I was like, oh shit. Ancient world swallowed by it. Yeah, just the idea that like I don't know. I my initial thought was like I went back to what I said last week of the Grand Line has weird fucking weather for a reason. And I'm like, well, I don't know if I said it last week or the week before last where I was like, the ancient weapons are the byproduct or the way the world is a byproduct of the ancient weapons being used
Mm-hmm.
because they just broke the world
Yeah.
or just like the way like people fought back then. No, so I was like, this is sick. I don't think we'll. You said this was Atlantis, and I saw this more as Pompeii because we get to see this ancient thing on the bottom of the ocean, right? And I look at it as like I don't think anyone's living there, right? I think we're gonna come back to this in a flashback.
So I viewed it
Um,
as Atlantis specifically because
it's a
I think
lost city.
it's a lost city under the water. I'm not expecting anyone to live there currently. Like Pompeii is probably a better example. Atlantis was the first thing in my mind just because we're going underwater.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
the idea of this civilization that was essentially drowned out, um, and this city now that is, I'm not gonna say uninhabitable. I'm gonna say it's whatever is down there is kind of like, for a real life comparison, it's like deep sea shit where it's like there's fish and things that live so far under the ocean that it's like they're all fucking terrifying because how the fuck do you live down there?
Yeah.
Um, but I don't think there's like merman. I don't think there's mermen or fishmen down there or mermaids. Like I think like this big ass fish here, like this thing's a monster, and that's the kind of shit that would be swimming around there.
You know what would be interesting is if the last road poneglyph was in here, and so Robin and Jimbei have to like go down and find it. Like I think because there is a submarine on the Sunny.
Could it
They do have a
survive this?
submarine. Well, it's only 200 meters, right?
Well, it's yeah.
Only 200 meters, but like yeah, like there is a submarine on the Straw Hats that the Straw Hats have access to. They have a fishman and they have someone that can read. Like I
Oh,
think it'd be interesting if we if we had to come back here. I think it'd be really cool to like do a team up with Jinbei and Robin.
it's interesting because okay, so if there's a road poneglyph down here, though, when do you think it would have been put down here?
It's the one that Whitebeard was tasked with. So the one that was in Fishman Island that Whitebeard moved. And if he moved it
Okay.
here, then we know his ships can like his ships could go under, they
Mhm.
were coded, right? So I'm like, oh, it's not impossible to think that like he hit it here.
Okay, I like that. I was more so asking because it's like obviously it had to be somewhat recent because we're only 30 years post Roger, so Roger had to have seen it within the last 33 to 35 years of the timeline.
Yeah.
Um, I guess technically more. You probably go up to 40 years. But so would have had to move there relatively soon after Roger. Roger and Whitebeard were cool. So yeah, I'm not opposed to that. Whitebeard throwing it
Like
down there
I just think
because
it's really cool. And like if Elbath is this,
that means Blackbeard knows.
no, well, maybe. It depends on when it got moved, right?
You know, it's interesting because if Blackbeard knows, because and this is he theoretically could because he was on Whitebeard's crew. Okay, you'd obviously would have to have
Yeah.
very unique situations to get down here. And so I think that's my thing with the submarine. I'm like, okay, I think to me personally, I'm like, okay, you got to do a little more out of the box in the submarine. Not saying Frankie can't do it, but maybe a particular, like a one time submarine thing just because of the unique environment. Or you're Blackbeard and you have access to the tallest living creature who could theoretically go here. I forget exactly how tall Sand Wolf is. I just know he's the biggest fucking thing. And I think his fruit is literally just he can get bigger. So it's like,
Hmm.
could he theoretically just literally pick it up?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, that'd be kind of interesting to think about.
Because and it would give Blackbeard his first actual his first legitimate edge in this final part. Like he did a lot of moves during the 2 year time skip, but for the stuff that's been stacking up the last, let's say 30, 40 chapters, like end of Wano until now, when the Emperors have been, clearly who has an edge on who, this would be Blackbeard's big, oh, no one's gonna know this. Shanks kind of, because Shanks has obviously info from being with Roger, but um
I think it'd be cool though, because we know that Whitebeard had, he knew, Roger told him everything.
mm,
Um, and so I think it'd be interesting if Whitebeard hit it here as like it'll be safe here because like, and not, I'm not talking about here as in like this specific underwater city, but also like, but maybe some, like a certain part of it, right? Like another underwater abandoned city.
this is also technically, I think we're narrowing it down to one city. Technically, this is more than one underwater city because if we're doing a whole,
I'm
because
just
it's a whole
saying it, yeah,
civilization.
it's like it's Rome, right? Like
Yeah, so like it is large. So it's like
it's a forgotten city underneath the ocean. And I think we're like again, I do think it would be cool if this is our first look at like the old kingdom that's been mentioned, the kingdom of D.
mhm.
I think that would be really interesting. Um regardless, like if we were to come back here, Jinbei and Robin are the ones who come back
No,
here.
agreed. Again, to the whole just checking in on the world, like this is really cool. He's not even talking in this panel, like, and you just get to see, like, oh, okay, cool. That's what I'm gonna nitpick for like 2 seconds. One of these three kids should have had their sword in their mouth. Um, just because we know Zoro's had an impact on that school.
Yeah, yeah, but he's teaching them right. He's like, that's a bad habit.
He's like,
Don't
hey,
do
yo,
that.
that jackass over there. I know y'all think he's cool, but fuck him. Wrong way.
Yeah,
Um,
he's like, did you know the guy that's stronger than him uses one?
there you go. There you go.
So why do you need three?
Oh shit. No, Miak's got two. You know, you might see him with the little dagger
Oh,
and
the
the
little
big ass
knife.
sword in hands.
Yeah, that's how Zoro lost his eye, right? Like,
Yeah. Um, then you get Nojiko. I like this too. This is just really
she
quick.
don't give a fuck,
Yeah,
dude.
she's like
She's like, I mean, my tangerines need to get watered.
she's like shit, they might all get water. We might all be going under the water, bitch.
Yeah, she's like, well, we're gonna be needing some tangerines.
um okay. Um this change in the world helps explain how a century of history could be censored. Feels impossible when you consider all the data points. Oh yeah, within a mere century, the average sea level rose by a staggering 200 meters. Now,
That
for the
is so crazy.
context, we got what we presume to be an ancient weapon that Emu fired. That was 1 meter.
Yeah, and this could have just been a war that was going on. So this ancient weapon had to have been used
At least
multiple
two.
times,
Yeah,
right?
and
And
each time is an
enough
island.
to break up a continent, right? To break up continents. And yep, like yep, that would raise the sea level.
It's insane. Yeah, it's like we got one shot took out an entire island plus 1 meter. So that's the equivalent to 200 islands worth of damage. And that shit, and I'm assuming they all, I'm going to just, for until we know more, I'm just going to assume all three weapons, if they fire off theoretically, they all distort the sea level, right? Poseidon starts doing shit, distorts the sea level. I'm going to
Yeah.
assume Uranus the same thing, and as well as um, Pluton.
Yeah. I think it's kind of cool though, because again it goes in with the it goes in with Rome in a
Mhm.
sense of like it got too like the world got too big, war happened, and there was like a huge destruction of knowledge,
Mhm.
right? Like to revert, like this war was so bad it reverted back knowledge, and it probably has a lot to do with the islands and how like treacherous it is to go to sea to go to other islands, and just like that. It's so interesting. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is so good.
A warship's only 60 meters tall. I love these like warships only 60 meters tall. No wonder it disappeared. Hey, stop listening to this crap. We have work to do. So there is still some Marines who are just gonna just assume Vegapunk's bad. He's lying. He's with pirates now. Like we're not gonna
Yeah,
get a total 100% flip of the Marines. Some of them are still just gonna be like, hey, we're Marines. We're the good guys. We got to go do our job. Blah blah blah. I don't really care for this trope. The whole town like that just can't believe in dreams. This is to me like I get it. They're here. I don't really care about them very much. So if you care about people that don't believe in dreams, lit. This is your panel. Have a ball. Um, I know they exist, but I'm like, I just to me they're the least interesting out of all the look-ins in the world. Um, then we get Chopper's Kingdom. Uh, I know this is I forget it. Miss Golden Week. Yeah,
yeah.
is she? But where's she at? This is
She's with the she's with the uh I almost said chipmunk lady. That's
oh
who's
the mole
standing next
lady.
to her. That
Is
looks
this the
like the
mole lady?
mole. That looks like the mole lady next to her.
But like, what
And
island are they on?
we don't know.
Okay, that's that. I was trying. That's what I was trying to figure out. I'm like, wait, are they on? Are they somewhere we're supposed to know, or
I mean, it's probably like talked about in a previous um cover story, in their cover
Probably.
story, but like
Yeah. Interesting. Um,
they're just on an island somewhere.
yeah. Greya, she's like, damn, I'm like 130 and this shit still keeps I still keep learning shit. That begs the question, how did such a flood occur? You'd think it's a natural disaster, except it's a man-made calamity. Uh Morgan's is just pissed off because Vegapunk is ruining like 3 weeks worth of newspapers. Let's scroll past. Impossible for such a drastic thing to happen spontaneously within the span of a mere 100 years. It's like my suspicions were confirmed a few days ago when I analyzed the world's current sea levels, which this lines up with Lucia disappearing, lines up with the ancient weapons. They start firing off specifically whichever one they still have, which yeah, both are in play technically, right? It's not impossible for Pluton's a ship, but it's not technically. It could be either Uranus. No, it'd have to be Uranus
We don't
because
know. We know. Wait, what are we
they
talking
have
about?
Frankie has the blueprints for Pluton, and Poseidon's literally Shirahoshi. So the one they have has to be Uranus,
Well, unless they're using the mother flame, right? So that could be a new,
like a knockoff ancient weapon, like something
yeah.
comparable but not the original.
The mother flame could be what was piloting the old ancient weapons.
Okay,
Because we
shit's
talked about, I said before, I was like, what if they're all ships? Like, or what
mm,
if like they're individualized abilities, but like the ships are what people remember as the ancient weapon.
mm-hmm.
So like Pluton is a ship, and Pluton is literally underneath Wano. Poseidon had Noah, and then we've talked about like if Maxim, what Enel uses,
Mm-hmm.
is like a mini version, kind of foreshadowing what the third one could be. Um, I mean, the ancient weapon, they could have Uranus, but like I kind of like the idea that it's, well, no, you know what? It is Uranus. We're gonna say it's Uranus, and that Vegapunk creating the Mother Flame is what powers Uranus. So they had the ancient weapon, they just didn't know how to run it, and then he created nuclear power, and they were like, "Thank you, we need that."
um yeah, no, it's almost interesting if it's almost like equivalent to Life Force. That's getting a little too off screen, but that's just because of Shirahoshi. Shirahoshi is the interesting one because you don't know if she's the rule or if she's the exception. Like because she's a person and an ancient weapon, and it's almost like it's an inherited thing. Like she's the avatar of ancient weapons, and it's like you don't know if that's the rule or if that's the exception. Like that's just Poseidon, or is that how they all work? So we don't know enough. So I'm not gonna three old men pissed off going around. We are all angry. They know how bad it's gonna be when they get back home. This is the look of like when you know you fucked up at work and you're just like but your boss isn't right there and
Well,
just like,
this is the world breaking,
oh yeah.
right? This is what happened. Like the five Gorosei should never get dispatched anywhere ever.
And
And they did, and the world is literally falling apart around them. Like the amount of hockey coming off of Venus is insane. No, this isn't Venus. Hold on. I gotta bring up the Gorosei.
I almost want to say Venus is the swordsman
Yeah, Venus Juro. That's the swordsman, right?
and Jupiter's the
That is
sandworm.
Mars.
Okay, so Mars, Saturn, and Mercury. Well,
Workery.
Mercury, yeah.
Excuse
But
me.
you're right. You're right. My bad. Oh yeah. So caused by ancient weapon technology.
Jupiter isn't doing anything.
Does Jupiter ever do anything?
He's a worm.
That yeah. Hey man, look. If he can be a worm, DeMarco Black can be kid. And that's how we found the One Piece.
Like he's
And that
doing
very
the worm is doing the least. All of the others have done so much.
this is the most damning line though for the Gorosei. Like him getting this off, and that very same firepower evidently still exists, just waiting to be used again. This is the most damning thing of them all because this is like confirmation. Like I keep reusing
They
it.
have an ancient weapon, yeah.
Yeah, I keep reusing the example, but it's because it's literally how this story marks its huge pivotal points, which is Roger saying there's some unbelievable treasure, go out there and get it. Whitebeard confirming there's an unbelievable treasure, go out there and get it. Like these huge announcements from these people that are solidified and valid in this world of like, it's Roger, the little king of the pirates, you're Whitebeard, the strongest man alive. You are Vegapunk, you're the smartest man alive. Would you sit there and say some of these things? It's like, you know, you and I could say, yo, this blah, 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 whatever. And it's like the president comes out and says, blah, blah, whatever. It's like, okay, because of who you are, your words mean something different. Um, and then we get Emu's little flower garden. And
Yeah.
Emu was irritated. Emu was
Emu
like,
is a little shook.
it's like I sent out the A team, and the A team is fucking this up. I've like
You know the best part about this chapter?
hmm,
No break next week.
that part.
That
That
part goes real hard, man.
told you read this whole thing going like I thought we were gonna be stopped at like at fucking
Like halfway through the chapter, you're like, all right,
yeah. I'm
well,
like
that's enough for Oda. And then it kept going.
kept going and going and going and going. I'm like, holy shit, it, man, man. Like this is once again. I want to be a hypocrite. Nobody should ever do 1,000 chapters. But man, if you're gonna do it, this is such a cool because you can't get this anywhere else. Like there's nowhere else that you can feel 20 plus years worth of writing coming together. There's nowhere else. I said it like Vegapunk is one of his most nailed characters ever. He was hidden behind a wall for 20 plus years and only like a sentence here, a thought there, a paragraph here. And it's like now we're getting it all and we're getting it on turbo, which is fine because
Yeah.
we know his influence has always been around the world. But it's like he is delivering so fucking well for a character that hid for 1,000 chapters, which I think is big because I think Green Bull to a lot of people was kind of disappointing. And while he's not as long a wait because he wasn't really a character until the time skip, there was some anticipation because all the admirals have come out the gate with like a crazy entrance, and Green Bull's probably the most deflating. I argue he's not because I don't think we should diminish King and Queen in the grand scheme of the world. But I understand people being like, "Oh, he got bitched and lost," but I'm like, he took out two right hand men of an emperor. I'm like, that's not like that's still admiral type shit. He just can't beat Shanks. Welcome to the rest of the fucking world, guys.
Yeah.
Um, but so like not knocking Vegapunk out the way he's done, like that's just a chef's kiss, A+ on Oda's behalf. Like this chapter's fucking incredible. Like there's just so much stuff. I I got like 5 minutes. Where do we even go from here? Like what's the next? Like how
I
do we?
think we're I think we're still gonna be sticking with Vegapunk telling his piece.
Like
Like this more of the unmystery is going more of the mystery is gonna get unfolded, I think. Um I do wonder if at the end of the next chapter the giant robot comes into play.
don't blue balls me, Matt.
No, I'm like curious because I this is a really cool thing that they're doing, but I still think that the snail is in the robot. So like I wonder like I don't think he'll be in the whole chapter, but like the robot coming up and doing something at the end of the next chapter would be really interesting.
This is I
Or
agree.
maybe or maybe Jupiter does something. Again, he's the only one kind of lagging right now.
He is. He is
I can't.
not holding up his weight.
He's only a Sandworm because of Dune, and I'm here for that.
Sanji's dad needs to get his shit together.
Yeah, Sanji's dad needs to get his shit together.
Oh yeah, man, like this could have been like the final panel. And
That
I'd have
is,
been
it's
like,
such a cool panel. Like, it doesn't even feel like a One Piece panel.
oh no, none of the girls say feel like One Piece, which is oddly working for them. I was a little
Yeah,
worried
well,
initially.
like this is the panel with Warcry chasing the two giants and Luffy.
Mm,
I was like, oh, he looks like and is acting like a yokai
yeah,
right now. Meanwhile, Venus is just nuts.
it's just a cool fucking
He's
character.
he just might have the strongest hockey, and the five of them might have the strongest hockey in the entire everything.
They're up there. Like them
Well, I
and
mean,
Shanks. It's like
Warcry definitely has the strongest hockey. If Gear 5 Luffy can't do anything to him,
you got 1,000+ years to build up your hockey, and they're like,
900.
oh, you're right, my bad.
I
That extra
don't.
100 years is that's what's gonna fuck him up. That's where Emu gets them. Emu's got that full 1,000. Like
Yeah.
Emu's ready. Do you? I'll ask this, I guess, before we get out of here. How does the Goro say in the world government correct this? We've both said they're going to try to murder everybody on the island. But this is now national news. Everyone's seen it. Everyone's hearing it. Like, how do you correct this as the world government and the Goro say?
You do not correct it. I don't think there is any correcting. I think the people that believe it will believe it, and then the people that don't. I'm just noticing something. I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
Is that
What
I
panel are we
don't
going to for
we're
the
going the one that you're on actually right now with the what we thought was Mocktown. Hold on.
Oh, this right here. Okay.
Um, is that Hawkins? I thought this was Mocktown, but now I don't think it is.
What was our last sign of? Was Hawkins literally his last panel law fucking him up?
He was a bit fucked up.
But is that
Is
the last time we've seen him?
I think so.
Because I don't think we got like a post
Is
Wano
that
version on
Hawkins though?
Hawkins. I'm gonna say no, only because look at his arm. Your boy looks jacked. And I just don't take Hawkins for jacked. The hair, I get it, but I'm gonna say no to Hawkins.
I just
But
don't know
this guy does
because
have more detail
I
for a
don't think
nobody.
this is I don't know if this is Mocktown though because I don't see the bar, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think this is something else. And he looks like Hawkins.
No, it's valid.
And we know he has a bunch of fodder on his crew, so he can like
He does like to fodder off his he'll fodder off anybody.
I think that I'm gonna go with that's Hawkins.
I'm not mad at it. So then if we don't think this is fixable, and I agree, I don't think it is, do we think this is all set up for the final war then? Like this is gonna be the triggering event that makes
This whole Egghead is literally the trigger for the rest of this saga. Like we're gonna get a Marine Civil War out of this. We're gonna get the Exodus to
the red line.
the Red Line. Um, I think also like I don't know if like I think it'd be interesting if the Mother Flame got activated and blew up Egghead.
Mm-hmm.
I think Egghead gets blown up in some capacity only because uh it would be a nice parallel to what Frankie did on Vegapunk's home island.
Oh, blew it up. Or blew up the lab at least.
Blew up the lab, right? So like there's a reason why that was like, and this is the incident that would shake the world over, the legendary Tiger Man doing this in
Yeah.
the and then like that paralleled the whole Egghead incident, right? So
That's valid. Oh man. Oh.
I think that's where I think it's going. Not next week though.
Oh yeah, no. Oh. No, man. Incredible fucking chapter. Like just all like that man is fucking cooking. Like your boy's got the
Let
oven
him keep.
going. He's
He's
got
in
the
the he's in
he
the
is
kitchen, man. Let him
he
keep
is
going.
fucking going. Don't question him. Your boy pulls out more salt than you used to. Let him cook. Your boy pulls out more paprika than you thought. Let him cook. Like except the editor who recommended the DeMarco Black page. You keep cooking too. You walk your ass right back in the kitchen.
That guy's about to like get his own manga series.
Oh shit. DeMarco does need his own manga series now that you think about it. That's Two Piece. The story of DeMarco Black.
That is Two Piece, yeah, isn't it?
Oh man, I gotta go. But with that, appreciate everybody for listening. As always, at I Talk a Lot 9080, Shadow Riley on Instagram, the Brandleberry on Instagram. Go check us out. Twitter, TikTok before they ban it. YouTube, you know where to find us, wherever you listen to podcasts. And we will see you guys next week.
See you dudes.